Hare Krishna, welcome to all devotees. Now we start today's Bhagavatam class with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate. Now we start today's Bhagavatam class with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tat Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiret Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Now today we start new chapter, Srimad Bhagwatam Canto 11, chapter 9, detachment from all that is material. Shloka 1 to 13. Sri Brahmana Uvacha Parigraha hi dukkaya yat yat priyatamam nrunam anantam sukham apnoti tat vidvana yatu akinchana sa amesham kuraram jagnuhu balina anne niramishaha tat amesham prityajya sa sukham samavindat. न मे मान अपमान हो स्थन चिंता गेह पुत्रेणाम आत्मक्रीडः आत्मरतिः विचारामि इह बालवत् द्वौ एव चिन्तया मुक्तौ परमानंद आप्लुतौ यः विमुग्ध जडः बालः यः गुणेभ्यः परम गतः क्वचित् कुमारी तु आत्मानं ऋणानान् गृहम् आगतान् स्वयं तान् अर्हयाम आस क्व अपि यातेषु बन्धुषु तेषाम् अव्यवहार अर्थं शालीन रसि पार्थिव अवग्रन्थ्यः प्रकोष्ठस्थः चक्रुः शङ्खास्वनं महत् सा तज्जुगुप्सितं मत्वा महती व्रीडिता ततः बभज्जैः एक एकशः शङ्कान् द्वौ द्वौ पाणयोः अशेषयत् उभयो अपि अबुद्घोषः हि अवघ्नन्त्याः स्वशङ्कयोः तत्र अपि एकं निरभीत अभिदैत एकस्मान् अभवत् ध्वनिः अन्वशिक्षम् इमं तस्या उपदेशम् अरिन्दम लोकान् अनुचरन् एतान् लोकतत्व विवित्सया वासे बहुनां कलह भवेत् वार्ता द्वयो अपि एकः एव वसेत् तस्मात् कुमार्या इव कंकणः मन एकत्र संयुज्यात् जित श्वास जित आसनः वैराग्य अभ्यास योगेन ध्रियमाणम् अतन्द्रितः यस्मिन् मनः लब्ध पदं यत् एतत् शनैः शनैः मुञ्चति कर्म रेणुन् सत्त्वेन वृद्धेन रजः तमः च विधूय निर्वाणम् उपैत्य निधनानि निन्दनम् तत् एवं आत्मनि अवरुद्ध चित्तः न वेद किंचित बहि अंतरं वा यथा इषुकारः नृपति व्रजंतम व्रजंत ईशो गत आत्मान ददर्श पार्श्वे. Translation and purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The saintly Brahmana said, everyone considers certain things within the material world to be most dear to him. And because of attachment to such thing, one eventually becomes miserable. One who understands this gives up material possessiveness and attachment and thus achieves unlimited happiness. Once a group of large hawks who were unable to find any prey attacked another weaker hawk who was holding some meat at that time. Being in danger of his life, the hawk gave up his meat and experienced actual happiness. In family life, the parents are always in anxiety about their home, children, and reputation. But I have nothing to do with these things. I do not worry at all about any family, and I do not care about honor and dishonor. I enjoy only the life of the soul, and I find love on the spiritual platform. Thus, I wander the earth like a child. In this world, two types of people are free from all anxiety and merged in great happiness. One who is retarded and childishful, and one who has approached the Supreme Lord, who is beyond the three modes of material nature. Once a marriageable young girl was alone in her house because her parents and relatives had gone that day to another place. At that time, a few men arrived at the house, specifically desiring to marry her. She received them with all hospitality. The girl went to a private place and began to make preparation so that the unexpected male guest could eat. As she was beating the rice, the conch shell bracelets on her arms were colliding and making a loud noise. The young girl feared that the men would consider her family to be poor because their daughter was busily engaged in the menial task of husking rice. Being very intelligent, the shy girl broke the shell bracelets from her arms, leaving just two on each wrist. Thereafter, as the young girl continued to husk the rice, the two bracelets on each wrist continued to collide and make noise. Therefore, she took one bracelet of each arm, and with only one left on each wrist, there was no more noise. O subduer of the enemy, I traveled throughout the surface of the earth, learning constantly about the nature of this world, and thus I personally witnessed the lesson of the young girl. When many people live together in one place, there will be undoubtedly be quarreling. And even if only two people live together, there will be frivolous conversation and disagreement. Therefore, to avoid conflicts, one should live alone, as we learned from the example of the bracelet of the young girl. Having perfected the yoga sitting postures and conquered the breathing process, one should make the mind steady by detachment and the regulated practice of yoga. Thus, one should carefully fix the mind on the single goal of yoga practice. The mind can be controlled when it is fixed on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Having achieved a stable situation, the mind becomes free from polluted desires to execute material activities. Thus, as the mode of goodness increases in strength, one can completely give up the modes of passion and ignorance, and gradually one transcends even the material mode of goodness when the mind is freed from the fuel of the modes of nature. The fire of material existence is extinguished. Then one achieves the transcendental platform of direct relationship with the objects of his meditation, the Supreme Lord. Thus, when one's consciousness is completely fixed on the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one no longer sees duality or internal and external reality. The example is given of the arrow maker who was so absorbed in making a straight arrow that he did not even see or notice the king himself who was passing right next to him. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Incited by the modes of nature, birds become violent and kill other birds to eat them or to steal meat captured by them. Hawks, vultures, and eagles are in this category. However, one should give up the envious propensity to commit violence against others and should take to Krishna consciousness, whereby one sees every living entity as equal to oneself. On this platform of actual happiness, one does not envy alone and thus sees no one as his enemy. Those who fervently seek material sense gratification are gradually pushed down into a miserable condition of life because as soon as one even slightly violates the laws of nature, one must suffer sinful reactions. Thus, even materially alert and ambitious persons are constantly in anxiety, and from time to time, they are plunged into great misery. Those who are nonsensical and retarded, however, live in a fool's paradise, and those who have surrendered to Lord Krishna are filled with transcendental bliss. Therefore, both the fool and the devotee may be said to be peaceful in the sense that they are free from the ordinary anxiety of the materially ambitious person. However, this does not mean that the devotee and the retarded fool are on the same platform. A fool's peace is like that of a dead stone, whereas a devotee's satisfaction is based on perfect knowledge. The Brahmana sage here explains to King Yadu that he is not presenting theoretical knowledge. Rather, by wandering throughout the world, the observant and thoughtful Brahmana has personally experienced the lessons learned from all of the above mentioned gurus. Thus, instead of posing himself to be omniscient like God, he humbly explained that he has faithfully learned this lesson in his travels. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given a nice example in this regard because the young girl mentioned in this story had no husband. She had to fulfill her duties as a host by removing her bracelets so that each wrist held one bracelet only. In the same way, the process of Jnana Yoga or spiritual advancement by philosophical speculation demands that the speculating sages live alone without any other association. Since nannies have dedicated their lives to speculation, there will undoubtedly be endless argument and quarreling on technical points if many nannies live together. Therefore, to keep a peaceful atmosphere, they must live alone. On the other hand, a king's daughter who has been duly married to an aristocratic prince fulfills her duties to her husband by dressing herself attractively with innumerable ornaments and approaching him for love. Similarly, the goddess of devotion, Bhakti Devi, decorates herself with the innumerable ornaments of the uh, Vaishnavas who come together to relish the sweet sound of the holy name of the Lord. Because pure Vaishnavas do not intimately associate with non-devotees. It may be said that they reside alone and thus they also fulfill the purpose of this verse. There cannot be any quarrel among pure Vaishnavas because they are on the real platform of desirelessness, not wanting even salvation or mystic powers. What to speak of sense gratification? Because they are all devotees of Krishna. They may freely associate with one another for glorifying the Lord, as stated in Srimad Bhagwatam 3.25.34. न न एकात्मतम में स्पृहन्ति केचिन मत पाद सेवाभिरत मत इह ये अन्योन्यतः भागवतः प्रसज्य सभा जयन्ते मम पौरुषाणि पुरुषाणि. A pure devotee who is attached to the activities of devotional service and who always engages in the service of my lotus feet never desires to become one with me. Such a devotee who is unflinchingly engaged always glorifies my pastimes and activities. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has commented on this verse as follows. The young girl in the story kept only one bracelet on each wrist so that there would be no noisy conflict among the bracelets. Similarly, one should give up the association of those who are not devoted to the Supreme Lord. This is the actual lesson to be learned. A real Vaishnava is always pure and faultless in character. However, in those places where non-devotees congregates, there will undoubtedly be envious criticism of the devotional service of the Lord. And those who falsely attempt to analyze reality without the Supreme Personality of Godhead will create much disturbing noise in the name of philosophy. Therefore, one should remain in those places where the Supreme Lord is properly worshipped according to the Vedic standard. If everyone is dedicated to glorifying the personality of Godhead Krishna, there will not be any impediments in mutual association. However, in a place where people have many different purposes besides the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, social dealings will certainly be disrupted. One should therefore avoid the association of those who are inimical to devotional service. Otherwise, one will be frustrated in achieving the spiritual purpose of life. One who always keeps himself in the company of the devotees of the Lord is actually living alone. If one lives in a community where the only consideration is the pleasure of the Lord, then one can avoid the contradictory situations caused by many persons competing to satisfy their own material desires. This is the lesson intelligently understood by the Brahmana from the bracelets of the young girl. In this connection, Srila Madhvacharya quotes the following. Asat janehi tu samvasah na कर्तव्य कथा कथश्चन यावत यावत च बहुभिः सज्जनैः स तु मुक्तिदाः. One should not under any circumstances live with those who are not devotees of the Lord. On the other hand, one should stay with many devotees because such association affords liberation. One should develop vairagya or detachment by observing that all material things are doomed. Thus, one should take to the regulated practice of yoga, which in this age means the process of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the Avadhuta Brahmana is recommending Bhakti Mishra Ashtanga Yoga or the eightfold mystic yoga process performed as an offering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The desire to enjoy the material world is so strong that the mind wanders here and there uncontrollably. Therefore, it is stated, Griyamananam, the mind must be fixed in the goal of life, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the perfect stage of mental concentration called Samadhi. There is no longer any distinction between internal and external vision, since one can see the absolute truth everywhere. In the mystic yoga process, one must sit properly, and then it is possible to control the different airs within the body. When the breathing process is controlled, the mind, which is dependent upon the action of the bodily airs, is easily fixed in higher consciousness. But although the mind may be momentarily controlled, if one is overcome by desire for sense gratification, the mind will again be lost. Then, this verse emphasizes vairagya, detachment from material illusion. This is attained by Abhyasa Yoga, the regulator practice of Krishna consciousness, which is the highest yoga system, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 6.47. Yoginamapi sarvesham matgatena antar atmana shraddhavan bhajate yamam same yuktatamamata. And of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. The interaction of the three modes of nature creates great obstacles in one's path of spiritual advancement, and there is a danger that one may be thrown down into the darkness of ignorance. Those who are experienced in practical psychology know the dangers of the uncontrolled mind and constantly endure to bring the mind under control. If one can free oneself from the influence of the material modes of passion and ignorance, then life becomes very auspicious, controlling the mind and thereby freeing oneself from the influence of the material modes of nature is the only means of making actual progress in life. The word Yasmin in this verse, according to Srila Sridhar Swami, indicates the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the reservoir of all pleasure. Giving up the material propensities of the mind does not mean merging into an impersonal existence, such as that experienced in dreamless sleep. As stated in this verse, Satvena Vruddhena, one must become firmly established in the mode of goodness and then gradually rise onto the spiritual platform, where one may dwell in the company of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is understood that when a king moves on a public street, he is heralded by kettle drums and other musical instruments and is accompanied by soldiers and other members of his retinue. Thus, despite this royal extravaganza passing right by his workshop, the arrow maker did not even notice because he was completely absorbed in his prescribed duty of making an arrow straight and sharp. One who is completely absorbed in loving devotional service to the absolute truth, Sri Krishna, no longer pays attention to material illusion. In this verse, the word Bahihi, external, refers to the innumerable objects of material sense gratification, such as food, drink, sex, and so on, which drag the senses of the conditioned soul into material duality. The word antaram or internal refers to memory of previous sense gratification, or hopes and dreams for future materialistic situation. One who is seeing everywhere the absolute truth, Sri Krishna categorically reject both internal and external illusion. This is called Muktipad, or the status of liberation. On this platform, there is neither attraction nor aversion to sense objects. Rather, there is loving absorption in the absolute truth, Krishna, and an overwhelming desire to please him by devotional service. One who gives up the reality of Krishna will be forced to wander uselessly in the kingdom of mental speculation. One who cannot see that the absolute truth, Lord Krishna, is the background and basis of everything that exists, will be bewildered by the false concept that there is something that is not Krishna. Everything emanates from the Lord, and He is the Lord of everything. This simple understanding is the actual existential situation. Thus end the purpose. Now prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Ena Tasmai Sri Gurave Nama Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam स्थापितम एन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यम ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुत पदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवान् च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांच नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात देशतारिणे वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभे च कृपा सिंधुभे एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री सादी गौर भक्त वृंद. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा. दंडवत प्रणाम. आज ऐसे लग रहा है कि खाली हरे कृष्ण ही बोलते रहे. टुडे नाउ वी स्टार्ट न्यू चैप्टर ऑफ श्रीमद् भागवतम स्कंद 11 chapter 9, detachment from all that is material. Shloka number we try to understand 1 to 13. In this chapter, Avadut Brahmana described about his 7 remaining gurus. He taking the lesson from 24 gurus by observing their activities. About that, out of that, here 7 remaining gurus, beginning with the Kurar birds, who describe an additional guru, one's own body. First, he received the instruction from Kurar bird that attachment creates misery. So the person who is unattached, has no material possession, is qualified to achieve unlimited happiness. Second, he taking the lesson from the foolish lazy child by becoming free from anxiety. Who is a lazy? He is free from anxiety. It means is not that okay, one may be living as lazy child, becomes capable of worshipping the supreme personality of Godhead and experiencing supreme ecstasy. Third, he taking the lesson from a young girl uh, who only remain in his her house alone and steady and thus steady one's mind. When she was alone, that time her parents and relatives went another place, and at that to see her as the marriageable girl, as ask for the hand of the younger for marriage, who she doing their uh, all type hospitality, welcoming them, and uh, she went inside and began to prepare food for them. She making uh, began to prepare food for unexpected house. At that time, her conch shell bracelets were making loud, rattling against each other. And in order to stop that sound, she broke off the bracelets one by one until at least only she left one bracelet in every hand. Uh, and then he taking the again instruction from the arrow maker. When one arrow maker was there, that time the queens uh, passer by that way, and someone asked him, the king was passing right by on the road or left. Then that time oh, that he did not even notice the king was or not, uh, like concentrating it in the worship of the Lord Hari. Thus, we try to understand here these some examples of the gurus, and ahead we take other examples in tomorrow's Bhagavatam class. Here, uh, the saintly Brahmana said that one who understands the this gives up the material possessiveness and attachment, thus achieves unlimited happiness. If we want unlimited happiness, then we should give up the possessiveness of materials, possessiveness and attachment. Then on this platform, actual happiness, one does not envy anyone and thus sees no one as his enemy. Third point, uh, peace is like that of a dead stone, and whereas the duty satisfaction is based on perfect knowledge. Uh, from the girls, they know that the shy girl broke the shell bracelet from her arms, leaving just two on each wrist. Thereafter, the girl continued to husk the rice, and two bracelet on each wrist continued again collide and make noise. Therefore, she took one bracelet of each arm, and with only one left on each wrist, there was no more knife. And from this, they told that uh, 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 here Avadut Brahmana told that wandering throughout the world, the observant and the thoughtful Brahmanas has personally experienced the lessons learned from the all above mentioned gurus. Instead of posing himself to be omniscient like God, he humbly explained that he has faithfully learned this lesson in his travel, and he learned from the girl that I personally witnessed the lesson from the young girl that throughout the surface of the earth, learning constantly about that when there are gathering in two or more person and together, then there may be the uh, kolahal took place or uh, conversation like uh, coming between opposite conversation that try speculations may be there uh, in those people, and as that girl left only one bangles in her every head. There is no knife. Like when a saintly person lives alone, he can do the sadhana nicely. It means there cannot be any quarrel among pure Vaishnavas because they are on the platform of the desirelessness, not waiting even salvation or mystic power. On what to speak of sense gratification, because they are all devotees of Krishna. They may freely associate with one another for glorifying the Lord. And that is in Bhagavatam also told about that. Then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains from the goals that uh, on this verse, they told that the young girl in the story kept only one bracelet on each wrist so that there would be no noise conflict among the bracelet. Similarly, one should give up the association of those who are not devoted to Supreme Lord. This is most. This is the actual lesson to be learned. A real Vaishnava always pure and faultless in character. So in those places where non-devotees congregate, there will be undoubtedly be envious criticisms of the devotional service of the Lord. Those who falsely attempt to analyze reality without the supreme personality of Godhead. And then lastly, we understand that the example is given of the arrow maker who was so absorbed in making a straight arrow that he did not even see or notice the king himself who was passing right next to him. So everyone should be engaged in oneself sadhana, devotional service, that our attention not go away anywhere, and everything emanates from the Lord, and He is the Lord of everything, like we understand. And this simple understanding is the actual existential situation. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhecha kripa sindhubhe evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna. Dandat pranam. Now Prabhuji will tell you in detail this story. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Taji. Thank you very much. In fact, now it is very late. I'll try to add a few important points which need to be covered in the shlokas and which are continuation of our previous shloka. So if you see in this story, the chapter heading itself is detachment from all that is material. So we have already seen about the two gurus from Avduta, and now we are going to understand the remaining ones, and he's starting with Kurara bird. So, and besides that, he is going to be additionally talking about one's body. So what Kurar blood is talking about is that attachment creates misery. But the person who is unattached and has no material positions is qualified to achieve unlimited happiness. I was just listening about it and just remembered many times people wonder why they are attached to their wives and so on and so forth. So one day, a husband asked his sister-in-law, "Why is it that you girls are always so beautiful?" The sister-in-law responded that, "Because we are created by the God with his own hands." And the husband, Bechara, he responded, "So is it that we are given on some contract to some contractual workers and created by God? So if everyone is created by same person, oh, why is that difference?" The difference is happening because of differential levels of attachments, the differential levels of necessities and needs that we express to each other. And that is why we need to be very, very careful. We need to avoid anxieties. Like in families, the parents are always in anxiety about their children, their home, their reputation. But if you're not involved into it, then there will be no caring for any honor and dishonor. One can enjoy only the life of soul and be always on the spiritual platform. And we can wander the earth like a child. In our school, there used to be one poem from Shakespeare who used to say, the vagabond, the sky above and the grass beneath. That is you wanted. That is exactly what the scriptures teach us. There are two kinds of people who are free from all anxiety and merged in great happiness. One who is very childish, foolish, and one who has approached the Supreme Personality of Godhead and gone beyond the modes of material nature. Because these three modes of material nature are like the three spikes of the Trishula of the Durga Mata, who is the jailer, this material world. So we need to get beyond that time. And that is how we can become better. Now, we always make perceptions and assumptions so that we try to show something which we are not. And that is what we see here in this story, the young girl, that she feared that her family would be considered poor. And so she broke the shell bracelets from her arms and continued to husk the rice. And then the bracelets continued to collide. And then she stopped. So when many people live together, there will always be quarreling. If only two people live together, some frivolous conversations and disagreements. But if one lives alone, just like the example of the bracelet, there will be complete peace. So what is recommended is that you should perfect the yoga, sitting postures, conquer the breathing process, make the mind steady by detachment and regulated practice of yoga, carefully fix the mind on the goal of yoga practice. But then in Kali Yuga, this is not possible. What is recommended in Kali Yuga is the Harinam Sankirtan. Because we cannot do any other yogic practice. But yoga meditation is something which is possible. That is what we need to do. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Concentrating on each word of the 16 syllable Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, letting that noise go in letting that sound vibration cleanse our heart, and then repeating it 108 times to complete one round of the chanting. And such similar 16 minimum rounds. And the result? The result is magic. Complete magic. Chetodarpan Marjanam. And we feel completely relieved of the Mahadavagni. That is what we need to do. So let us all come together. Let us understand this importance of chanting. Let us make others also understand the importance of chanting. Because that is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has ordered us. Jare dekho tare kaho Krishna Upadesh. So it's a humble request. Let more people join these Zoom sessions. Or if the time is not suitable, go through the video recordings which are available on the Krishna For Us YouTube channel. I'll be sharing the link of the channel today so that more people can come in and we together can successfully go back home, back to Godhead. Well, that is what is important in our life. Nothing else matters. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhayeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय, हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद